Chapter 5088. Later on, Xinyuan Yi gave the human king's broken sword to Lu Ming. It was even faster. It tore through the void and flew into Lu Ming's consciousness. Even Lu Ming himself could not react, let alone the others. Therefore, no one recognized that it was the human king's broken sword. However, they all knew that the broken sword in Lu Ming's hand was extraordinary. I have to leave first. Otherwise, if Lu Ming finds me, I'll definitely die. Yi Immortal pondered and then hid even deeper. He planned to find a chance to slip away completely. Lu Ming had killed 3 people with a single strike. This scene was even more shocking than when Lu Ming had killed the Desert Sand Tribe's uncle. More than 50 origins from the Primordial Light clan had surrounded Lu Ming, but Lu Ming had cut through them with a single strike. The impact of killing 3 experts was too great. Many people gasped and felt a chill run down their spines. Kill! Lu Ming shouted and did not stop. He swung his sword again. The sword light exploded and slashed at the surrounding origins from the Primordial Light clan. Puff puff, this time, 5 origins were killed by the sword light. The sword light from the human king's broken sword was too terrifying. It killed these early-stage origins as if they were chickens. Run! The surrounding origins from the Primordial Light clan were all scared out of their wits. One of them shouted and all of them scattered, fleeing in all directions. Don't be afraid. He's relying on the broken sword. However, it's extremely tiring to control such a powerful weapon. He won't be able to last more than a few moves. Someone from the Extreme Evil clan shouted. That's right. Those who have a joint attack formation, set up a joint attack formation and kill him. An origin from the 9-in demonic spider also shouted. Other than the origins from the Primordial Light clan, the other experts did not retreat. Instead, they charged at Lu Ming. After all, they had hundreds of origins, and they even had a joint attack formation. This was not a joint attack formation of the Divine Lord realm, but of the Origin realm. The principle behind a reciprocity battle formation was the same as a Godlord battle formation. They needed to refine a vessel for the battle formation. However, a reciprocity formation was many times more difficult to forge than a Godlord formation. The materials required were many times more precious as well. Even in the various forbidden grounds, there were not a lot of reciprocity joint formations. Set up the formation. Without a doubt, the various forbidden grounds all had reciprocity joint formations, and they had begun to cast them down. However, Lu Ming discovered that the 3 of them mostly used joint attack formations. This was clearly different from a Divine Lord's joint attack formation. A Divine Lord's joint attack formation was at least a 5-person joint attack formation. A 3-person joint attack formation was far too weak. However, reciprocity was different. Firstly, a reciprocity formation was extremely difficult to create. The more people there were, the more difficult it would be to refine. Furthermore, even if there were only 3 people at reciprocity, the formation's power would increase by a lot. It would not be as simple as 3 times. There were at least 10 joint attack formations among the various clans, but the ones with the most people were 5-person joint attack formations. There were only 2 of them. The various forbidden grounds naturally possessed even more origin joint attack formations, but they had not brought them. Originally, they had mobilized enough people just to deal with a single Lu Ming. They originally thought that there would be more than enough. Who would bring so many joint attack formations? The experts of the various clans fanned out to surround Lu Ming. Before they had even arrived, they had already launched long-range attacks at Lu Ming. Then let's kill to our heart's content. A cold light flickered through Lu Ming's eyes. It seemed like the 8 clans of the Forbidden Grounds would not let him go. Since they wanted his life, they had to be prepared for him to kill them and make rivers of blood flow. As if it had sensed Lu Ming's will, the human king's broken sword buzzed and shone brightly. From afar, Lu Ming did not seem to be holding a broken sword, but a divine sword shining with divine light. It was in perfect condition. Lu Ming swung his sword and broke through all the long-range attacks aimed at him. Then, the wings on his back flapped, and his figure shot out like a bolt of lightning. The first to bear the brunt was a 3-person joint attack formation from the Extreme Evil clan. The three origins of the extreme evil clan formed a joint attack formation. It turned into a blade of extreme evil and slashed at Lu Ming. Clang. Lu Ming swung his sword and collided with the blade of extreme evil. There was an earth-shattering boom, and the blade of extreme evil shook violently. One could clearly see that cracks had appeared on the blade of extreme evil. Then, with a bang, it exploded. After the three had formed the formation, blood spurted from their mouths as they retreated. It was obvious that they had been severely injured. They wanted to retreat, but it was too late. Lu Ming used his Genesis technique, and his speed was extremely fast. In a flash, he had caught up with them. Sword light flashed, and the three were killed. After killing the three experts of the extreme evil clan, Lu Ming did not stop. He continued to charge forward. Sword light continued to slash out, and screams rose and fell. In an instant, more than 10 origins of the extreme evil clan had been killed. The origins of the extreme evil clan were terrified, and they scattered. Then, Lu Ming rushed toward a 9-in demonic spider and destroyed a joint attack formation. He killed the 3 people who had formed the formation. Of course, Lu Ming was also hit in the process. Although the Human King's broken sword was extremely powerful, it only increased the attack power. It did not provide Lu Ming with increased speed or stronger defense. There were too many people from the 8 clans in the forbidden area. With hundreds of people attacking together, it could be said that they were densely packed and attacked from all directions. Although Lu Ming could wield the Human King's broken sword and slash through these attacks, there would always be some that he missed. Lu Ming was hit continuously, and his body staggered. Even with the top source-grade armor and a layer of protective film, it was useless. He was still injured, and blood flowed from the corners of his mouth. Kill! Lu Ming was like an injured beast. He roared and his attacks became even more frantic. He was like a tiger in a flock of sheep. Anyone who was targeted could not escape. They were all killed on the spot. Although their injuries were getting worse, more than 50 origins had died at Lu Ming's hands in just a few minutes. The experts of the various clans were terrified. When they saw where Lu Ming was rushing, they quickly retreated. Don't be afraid. He's injured. Although his broken sword is powerful, it only has strong attack power. Let's spread out. Don't gather together. Keep a distance from each other and attack from a distance. We can definitely kill him. An elder from the fiend race shouted. Then I'll kill you first. Lu Ming stared at the elder. He flapped his wings and rushed towards the elder. The elder from the malevolent Yin clan was shocked. He turned around and fled. However, Lu Ming's speed was extremely fast. With all his might, the distance between him and the elder from the malevolent Yin clan was rapidly closing. Save me, save me, the elder from the fiend race screamed in horror, tears almost flowing out of his eyes. He regretted standing up and shouting just now to attract Lu Ming. Attacks were constantly bombarding Lu Ming from all directions. Lu Ming's figure flashed, dodging these attacks and slashing out with his sword at the same time. The elder from the fiend race was directly killed without any surprise. Chapter 5089. Kill! After killing the baleful Yin elder, Lu Ming flapped his wings and suddenly turned around. He charged off in another direction. Spurt! Spurt! Blood splattered everywhere as another 2 powerful experts were slain. Blood splattered through the air. However, Lu Ming was struck as well. He was struck by a flash of blade light, which almost pierced through his armor. It tore through his defensive barrier and cut his body in half. Without a doubt, the person who had attacked him was a peak expert on the same level as Yuan Sanji. Moreover, the blade this person used was a peak source-grade weapon. Under the control of a reciprocity expert, it possessed astonishing power. Even Lu Ming's peak source-grade armor would not be enough. It would be cut through. Although he managed to block it in the end, terrifying blade chi still managed to invade his body and cut into Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming could not help but cough up large mouthfuls of blood. Attack together. Lu Ming's injuries have worsened. He won't be able to last much longer. Someone roared from the side. Die! Lu Ming roared. His black hair fluttered as his killing intent surged. He was like a god of slaughter as he swung his sword backwards. The expert who had attacked Lu Ming was shocked. He rapidly retreated, not daring to face him head-on. However, how could Lu Ming allow him to escape? He flapped his wings and charged towards his opponent even faster than lightning. He rapidly approached him and swung his sword. With a flash of sword light, a head flew into the air. Afterwards, the person's body and genesis root were cut to pieces by the sword light. His soul was wiped out. A peak expert had died. After killing this person, Lu Ming glanced around with a murderous gaze before charging off in a certain direction. He charged towards a few people from the Navy Sea race. This was because they were the ones who had yelled that Lu Ming was injured and attacked him together. Lu Ming had condensed a pair of wings after using his Genesis technique. He was just too fast. There were very few early reciprocity experts who could match him. The Primordial Light race and Baleful Een race were extremely fast as well, but none of the early reciprocity experts could match up to Lu Ming. Oh no! Help! At the sight of Lu Ming dashing toward them, the few experts from the CC clan screamed in horror and fled frantically. However, it was useless. Lu Ming arrived and slashed with his sword, killing the few CC clan experts. Of course, during this process, hundreds of attacks were directed at Lu Ming, covering almost all directions. No matter how fast Lu Ming was, he was still hit. They were all existences at reciprocity, and they all possessed soul-grade weapons. In other words, any single one of them could pose a fatal threat to Lu Ming. As long as he was hit, Lu Ming's injuries would worsen. Furthermore, some of them were even proficient in soul attacks, such as the Dark Heavens Warriors and the Dark Een race. If it had been anyone else, they would have long succumbed to their injuries and died. However, Lu Ming's life force was extremely tenacious, and his soul was scattered throughout his body cells. Attacking his soul didn't have much effect on him. He constantly circulated his forbidden origin energy, and all his cells glowed. His injuries rapidly healed, and his battle prowess didn't weaken at all. Lu Ming roared. He was like a wounded beast, but he was also like a god of slaughter. He continued to kill the experts of the 8 races. He would stare at anyone who attacked him and kill them. Before long, another dozen or so origin experts had died at Lu Ming's hands. The people of the 8 races were finally terrified. Lu Ming was like an undying god of war. They couldn't kill him no matter how they tried. As long as they were targeted by Lu Ming, they would definitely die. No one dared to roar out anymore, afraid that they would attract Lu Ming's attention. They didn't even dare to attack, because as soon as they hit Lu Ming would chase after them. How were they supposed to fight like this? No one knew who roared, but the remaining origin experts of the 8 races finally couldn't hold on any longer. They scattered and fled in all directions. However, Lu Ming didn't want to stop here. He continued to chase after the experts of the 8 races with his sword. He had already killed so many people anyway, and his relationship with the 8 races was already irreconcilable. There was no need to show mercy. He would kill to his heart's content, and kill until the other party was terrified. In addition, he felt that the energy in the hilt of the human king's broken sword was about to be exhausted. There was a formation at the hilt of the human king's broken sword that had accumulated a lot of energy. However, after Lu Ming used it continuously, it was almost exhausted. There wasn't much left. Lu Ming wanted to take this opportunity to go on a killing spree. Lu Ming raised his speed to the limit, and moved through the void, chasing after the experts of the 8 races of the Forbidden Lands. Moreover, he paid special attention to the 3 eastern races, the Extreme Evil race, and the 9 Een Demonic Spider, and chased after these 5 races first. Screams rang out as experts were constantly killed by Lu Ming. However, no one dared to save them. Everyone couldn't even take care of themselves, and fled frantically. The several exits of the Ashen Azure Divine Realm were silent. Everyone was petrified. This scene was too legendary. No one had expected things to turn out like this. Lu Ming alone had killed nearly 400 origins, causing them to flee for their lives, leaving behind a trail of corpses. Not only were the exits silent, but the other places of the Ashen Azure Divine Realm were also silent. This was because someone had projected the scene of the battle in the air in different places of the Ashen Azure Divine Realm. Many people could see it. The Ashen Azure Divine Realm fell into a deathly silence. After a long while, everyone came back, and then there was an uproar. After chasing for more than 10 minutes, Lu Ming finally stopped. This was because there was no way to chase after them. The remaining people had already run far away. With so many people, Lu Ming couldn't chase after them all. It was unrealistic. When he chased after one person, the others could fly very far away. They were all origin experts, and they were fleeing with all their might. Their speed was too fast, and they could travel billions of miles in an instant. After stopping, Lu Ming began to collect the spoils of war. Lu Ming collected the storage pouches and source-level divine weapons of the slain experts. In the end, Lu Ming counted. A total of 102 origin experts had died at Lu Ming's hands. These were all origin experts, and a total of 102 of them had died. It was crazy. This day could be called a day of bloodshed. At the same time, Lu Ming also made a fortune. The storage pouches of 102 origin experts were all in Lu Ming's hands. How many treasures were there in them? A huge amount. Immortal crystals, immortal stones, various refining materials, heavenly treasures, divine medicines, divine pills, and so on. The only thing that Lu Ming felt was a pity were the source-level divine weapons. Among them, more than half of the source-grade divine weapons were destroyed, especially the defense-type source-grade divine weapons. They had been split apart by the human king's broken sword, becoming damaged divine weapons. This made Lu Ming feel that it was a pity. However, as long as they were slowly repaired, they could still be repaired. Even if they couldn't be repaired, it was the same to give them to Qiuqiu. Qiuqiu wouldn't be short of rations for a long time. In addition to these damaged source-level divine weapons, there were still 36 source-level divine weapons that were not destroyed. They were all offensive source-level divine weapons. Lu Ming smiled. He brought these source-level divine weapons back to the Heaven Destroyer. The Heaven Destroyer's origin experts should be able to have a source-level divine weapon. Chapter 5090. In his haste, Lu Ming did not count them carefully. He would do it later when he had the time. Junior Lu Ming, are you all right? Mullins flew over and asked with concern. Huang Ling did not speak, but the concern in her eyes could not be dispelled. They had just seen Lu Ming being hit many times and coughing up blood. Those were the attacks of Origin Realm experts using Origin-grade divine weapons. They could penetrate the Milky Way and were extremely powerful. They could not help but be worried. Don't worry, I'm fine. I just need to rest for a while. Let's go back first. Lu Ming said. Afterward, Lu Ming and the other two returned to the Ashen Azure Divine Realm. After returning to the Ashen Azure Divine Realm, Lu Ming returned to his residence and began to recover. However, the Ashen Azure Divine Realm was in an uproar. Some people believed that Lu Ming had done a good job and made a name for the human race, but some people were worried. The 8 clans of the Forbidden Lands were 8 forbidden lands with extremely deep foundations. The strength they possessed was far greater than that. They were afraid that the revenge of the 8 clans would implicate the Ashen Azure Divine Realm. They could imagine that the 8 clans of the Forbidden Lands would not let this matter rest. They would definitely take revenge. Sure enough, after the news of this battle spread, the Forbidden Lands of the various clans were shaken. Afterward, several Forbidden Lands announced that they would take revenge. Moreover, the Ashen Azure Divine Realm sent people out to investigate. They learned that the Forbidden Lands of the various clans would take out various powerful formations and terrifying weapons to kill Lu Ming. After hearing this news, the Ashen Azure Divine Realm could not remain calm. They sent out a message for all the humans outside to return to the Ashen Azure Divine Realm to deal with the upcoming changes. However, a few days later, an even greater change occurred. This was because almost all the cultivators felt the universe tremble. Yes, the universe trembled. No matter where they were, they felt the universe tremble violently at almost the same time. Afterward, all the peak god lords and above felt a different aura. It was as if fresh air had flowed in from the universe. Yes, it was as if the dusty door of a secret room that had been sealed for a long time had been opened. The air outside the secret room flowed in. Ordinary people might not be able to sense it, but those who were at the peak of the Divine Master realm and above could clearly sense it. Even Lu Ming, who was recuperating in seclusion, could clearly feel it. This aura definitely did not belong to the desolate universe. Furthermore, as time passed, it became stronger and stronger. The universe channel has been opened. Not long after, a piece of news spread across the universe. There were only a few hundred years left until the origin tribulation. The ancestors of the Forbidden Grounds and the progenitors in the Ashen Azure godly realm had sealed their bodies, but their consciousnesses were able to show themselves freely. They were able to tell them many things. The news was spread by the progenitors of the Forbidden Grounds. The various races couldn't remain calm when the universe passage opened. Perhaps powerhouses from other great cosmoses would descend very soon. The various clans' original plan to kill their way into the Tsangqing divine realm and kill Lu Ming had to be put aside for the time being. They had to make preparations to deal with the major event that was about to happen. A few days later, the universe shook again. Another universe passage was opened. Everyone knew that there was more than one universe passage. A storm is coming. Lu Ming sighed. At this time, his injuries had already healed. In the endless chaos, the yin-yang universe C was located in two directions. If someone could stand at a supreme angle and look down at the endless chaos, they would be able to see that the yin-yang universe C was located in two different directions, like the eyes of the yin-yang fish. In the middle of the two universe Cs, there were nearly 70,000 great cosmoses of various sizes. With the middle of the two universe Cs as the dividing line, one side was the yang world, and the other was the yin world. The desolate universe was now located at the intersection of the yang world and the yin world. The Jade Clear Void universe was ranked 10th among the countless universes in the world of the living. It was one rank higher than the primitive universe at its peak. It had been passed down for countless years and was an incomparably ancient universe. It was extremely prosperous and had an incomparably ancient orthodoxy. Immortals roamed freely and were incomparably powerful. The Jade Clear Palace was the most ancient and most powerful orthodoxy in the Jade Clear Great Cosmos. A figure was sitting cross-legged in a large hall. It was an old man with a sage-like demeanor. He had white hair and a white beard, but his face was ruddy like a young man. It was impossible to tell his exact age. However, if the people of the Jade Clear Great Cosmos were here, they would definitely recognize that this person was the founder of the Jade Clear Palace, the Jade Clear Ancestor. He was a mighty figure who had lived for countless years. In the impression of countless living beings in the Jade Clear Great Cosmos, the Jade Clear Ancestor had been around since the universe was created. Below the hall, many people were kneeling respectfully. They were the top experts of the Jade Clear Palace and were the overlords of the Jade Clear Great Cosmos. They were characters who could shake the entire Jade Clear Great Cosmos with a stomp of their feet. However, these people were extremely respectful in front of the Jade Clear Ancestor. I have deduced that the desolate void universe has been born. The Jade Clear Ancestor's voice sounded. As soon as he opened his mouth, golden lotuses bloomed everywhere. This was a phenomenon that showed that the Jade Clear Ancestor's cultivation had reached an unbelievable level. The desolate void universe has reappeared. The big shots below the hall were shocked. Back then, the desolate universe was destroyed. The last few experts left the desolate universe and sealed the universe passage, isolating themselves from the world. They left their original universe coordinates and let the desolate universe wander in the endless chaos. How many years has it been? I didn't expect it to reappear. Someone sighed. Back then, countless people died in battle in the desolate universe. There were many immortal Tao figures who died, and countless treasures were buried. Now that it has reappeared, it is an opportunity for us. Another person spoke. That's right. Not long ago, I sensed the aura of the desolate universe again. It is at the border between the Yang world and the Yin world. However, the desolate universe is at the end of the Great Tribulation of the origin. It can accommodate early-stage origin existences at most. We can let some juniors train there. Don't some little fellows want to find a universe with the Great Tribulation of the origin to break through? This is a good choice. The Jade Clear ancestor said. Yes, ancestor. I will make the arrangements now. At the same time, in the holy light void great cosmos. This was also an extremely powerful cosmos. In the Yang world great cosmos, it was ranked higher than the Jade Clear great cosmos. Some of the big shots in this cosmos had also sensed the reappearance of the desolate great cosmos. They had arranged for the younger elites to go to the desolate great cosmos. It wasn't just the top 10 cosmoses. There were also terrifying experts in the lower-ranked cosmoses. These people had also sensed the aura of the desolate universe when the universe passage to the desolate universe was opened. At the same time, they also sensed that the desolate universe was under the great tribulation of the origin. The elites of these cosmoses all rushed to the desolate universe. Chapter 5091. In the Yang realm, powerhouses from different universes were constantly rushing to the antediluvian universe. The Yin world was the same. When the passage to the antediluvian universe opened, the powerhouses of the Yin world also sensed the aura of the antediluvian universe and sent a large number of elites to the antediluvian universe to seek opportunities. Among them, there was no lack of monstrous figures. Of course, the highest cultivation among these people was only early reciprocity. Under the origin tribulation, the powerhouses of the outerverse could not enter. Once they entered, they would also be suppressed by the origin tribulation and die. For a time, the winds and clouds gathered in the antediluvian universe. In a certain desolate region of the antediluvian universe, there were fragments of continents everywhere. There were even remnants of stars and the ruins of the heavenly river. Moreover, it was deathly silent. There was no life, no antediluvian chi, and no living beings. Even cultivators could not survive here for long. Outside the desolate region, chaotic chi surged, and within the surging chaotic chi, there was clearly a path that extended into the depths of the chaos. This was the universal passage. Rumble. Suddenly, a violent rumble came from the depths of the chaos. The chaotic chi surged violently, and then a bronze warship sailed out from the depths of the chaos along the passage. The bronze warship looked very ancient and was enveloped by a layer of light. Some living beings could be seen standing on the deck of the warship. These living beings were all in human form. It was unknown whether they had taken human form or were born in human form. Is this the antediluvian void universe? Legend has it that immortals roam freely. It is also my place of opportunity. A handsome young man's eyes flickered with a sharp light. He had an extraordinary bearing. There is a terrifying pressure in the unseen world. Is this the origin tribulation? Very well, I will break through reciprocity under the origin tribulation and complete my path of invincibility. Another young man was even more confident. The warship suddenly shone, and the space was torn apart. The warship then entered the spatial rift, and when it reappeared, it was already far away. Its speed was unbelievably fast, countless times faster than a reciprocity cultivator flying at full speed. Not long after the bronze warship left, the chaotic chi outside the universal passage surged again, and a flickering silver pagoda flew out. Strands of light fell from the pagoda, separating the surrounding chaotic chi. The pagoda had 9 floors, and figures could be seen on each floor. The pagoda also shattered space in a flash. After the pagoda flew away for a while, another battle sword broke through the chaos and flew over. The battle sword was huge and shrouded in sword light. A large number of figures could be seen standing in the sword light. On the other side of the wasteland of the universe, there was also a universe passage. Suddenly, a roar came from the depths of the universe passage, shaking the chaotic energy. Then a huge creature flew out. This was a bone dragon. At the very least, it looked very similar to the dragons of the primitive universe. Its body was slender and huge, like a mountain range. However, this bone dragon had a pair of wings. Its wings were also made of bone. It looked like a divine dragon with a pair of wings, but its aura was exceptionally terrifying. A large number of figures stood on the back of the bone dragon. Around these figures, Yin Chi rolled. It was extremely cold, as if it could freeze the void of the universe. After the skeletal dragon appeared, it tore through space and left. After the bone dragon left, another powerhouse rushed over with the Yin River. Within the Yin River, there were also a large number of experts. It had been several months since the battle between Lu Ming and the 8 races of the Forbidden Grounds. During this time, Lu Ming had been in seclusion in the Azure Divine Realm, focusing on polishing himself. He tried his best to make himself perfect so that he could break through to reciprocity. At the same time, the Human King's broken sword was slowly absorbing the energy of the outside world to recover. That's right, a few months ago, Lu Ming had killed 102 reciprocity experts in the battle with the 8 races of the Forbidden Grounds. However, the energy in the hilt of the Human King's broken sword had almost been completely exhausted. However, the formation in the hilt could constantly absorb the energy of the outside world to recover. However, it was not fast. It would probably take a long time for it to fully recover. It could only be said that the Human King's broken sword could only be used at critical moments. It could not be used without limit. This made Lu Ming feel even more pressure. He desperately wanted to break through to reciprocity. However, every time he was about to break through to reciprocity, he would vaguely feel a great danger, causing him to shiver. This feeling was too real. It was as if he really broke through, he would definitely die. Lu Ming could not explain what was going on. He could only constantly polish himself. At this moment, with a thought, a transmission jade talisman appeared. It was a message from Mullins. The people of the Outerverse have finally descended. With a sweep of his spiritual sense, Lu Ming's expression changed slightly. Have the people of the Outerverse finally descended? Lu Ming muttered. Mullins's transmission briefly introduced the current situation of the universe. The powerhouses of the Outerverse had descended. Their numbers were astonishing, and they came from many different great cosmoses. It was difficult to say exactly how many great cosmoses had come. As soon as these people entered, they started a bloody conflict with the various races. This was because the main goal of the Outerverse descent was the ruins, and hidden places of the antediluvian universe. These places were often buried with a large number of treasures left behind from the previous era. The various Forbidden Grounds goals were also these treasures. Naturally, there would be conflict. However, the result was that the various Forbidden Grounds suffered a great loss. Although the strongest of the Outerverse powerhouses were only at early-stage reciprocity, their numbers were astonishing. They also had various joint attack formations. Some great cosmoses even brought terrifying killing weapons. Even the various Forbidden Grounds did not dare to face them head-on. They had to give up many ruins and hidden places. Of course, the various Forbidden Grounds could not be bothered to deal with Lu Ming. In short, during this period, the antediluvian universe was in chaos. In order to compete for the ruins and hidden places, the Outerverse powerhouses not only clashed with the various Forbidden Grounds, but also with the Outerverse. Bloodshed was endless. This was because these beings came from different universes, even from the Yin realm and the Yang realm. There was no need to say much about the Yin realm and the Yang realm. They had been enemies since ancient times, and there were constant battles. Even the great cosmoses of the Yin realm and the Yang realm were competitors. It was easy for war to break out. In the void outside the land of extreme evil, a huge bone dragon appeared, making the extreme evil tribe feel as if they were facing a great enemy. On the bone dragon, a group of people looked at the land of extreme evil. Among them, there was a golden skeleton with golden flames dancing in its eye sockets. Its aura was extremely shocking. Beside it, there were other skeletons of various types. There were humanoid skeletons and beast-type skeletons, but they were all very respectful to this golden skeleton. The golden skeleton was a top-notch freak of their great cosmos. Chapter 5092. The legendary nefarious race is actually living here. I didn't expect it. The golden skeleton said. Their voices came out with the vibration of their soul fire. It was no different from other creatures speaking. Indeed, legend has it that countless years ago, the nefarious race was also a big race in the underworld. Later, the king of the race led the army of the race to a certain place and never returned. The nefarious race also declined. Now it seems that the nefarious race came to conquer the primitive universe back then. A being that looked like a dog skeleton said. Not only that, but I also heard that the 9 demonic spider, the dark sky warriors, the dark sky vine race, the primordial light race, the baleful race, the icefire race, and the blue sea race were all big races in the underworld. Almost at the same time as the nefarious race, the kings of these races led an army to conquer a certain place and then disappeared together. It seems that they all came to the primitive universe. Yes, it's not just these 8 races. At that time, at least 20 big races disappeared together. The other skeletons were discussing. Now it seems that these big races came to attack the primitive universe at the same time. But according to the time, the primitive universe was not strong enough at that time. Its ranking in the world of the living was far from the 11th place. It was far from being as powerful as the later ones. Why did so many big races attack the primitive universe at the same time? And it seems that they failed. Otherwise, why would the primitive universe become more prosperous later on? The golden skeleton asked. I'm not sure. It seems to involve an important matter, but it's hard to say now. The dog skeleton said. Logically speaking, the primitive universe was far from being powerful back then. There weren't many top powerhouses. More than 20 royal races attacked the primitive universe together. How could they fail? Moreover, the passage to the primitive universe was not sealed at that time. Even if the royal races failed, why didn't they leave? Why did they live in the primitive universe and become the so-called forbidden area of the primitive universe? The golden skeleton continued. Young master, I really don't know these. Unless it's a big shot of that era, perhaps he or she knows some secrets. Or we can ask the people of the nefarious race and the baleful race. The people of these races don't seem to be from this era. They were sealed a long time ago. The dog skeleton said. Yeah, let's go. Let's leave this place. In the depths of this place, there are terrifying existences that we can't deal with. Let's go to other places and capture a few people to ask. The golden skeleton said. There were many who had the same question as them. This was because the 8 clans of the Forbidden Area used to be the royal clans of the Netherworld countless years ago. Any royal race was famous in the 30,000 great cosmoses of the world. However, back then, more than 20 royal races attacked a certain place together and disappeared together. At that time, it caused a huge uproar. Ever since the main forces of those clans disappeared, those clans started to decline and were replaced by other royal clans. Who would have thought that these races would be in the Urwild's universe? And now, there were only 8 clans left. Many people wanted to know what had happened back then. They naturally did not dare to attack the headquarters of the various forbidden lands. Instead, they secretly captured the people of the various forbidden lands and interrogated them. However, the results were disappointing. The people of the forbidden lands didn't know the details of what had happened in the past. All they knew was that they had followed their king to attack the Urwild's universe and had suffered a crushing defeat. Many kings of the royal races were killed, and their corpses floated on the Urwild's universe. This shocked the living beings of the Outerverse. Since the kings of a race could be called kings, they were all extremely terrifying existences. They were not kings of the mortal world, but kings of the immortal Tao. Each of them was definitely a pinnacle existence, a figure whose name shook countless great cosmoses. Even such figures were dead. What exactly did they encounter? According to the timeline, the 3 kings of the human race hadn't been born yet in the Urwild's universe at that time. What exactly did those races encounter? Unfortunately, no one could say for sure. Soon they put down these questions. Fighting for the benefits in front of them was the most important thing. Although many ruins and mystic grounds couldn't be opened yet and couldn't be entered, the various great cosmoses and orthodoxies were fighting fiercely. They had to occupy them first. In any case, after a few hundred years, the origin tribulation would be over. The true powerhouses of the great cosmoses and orthodoxies would be able to descend and break open these ruins and mystic grounds to obtain the treasures inside. In addition to fighting for the ruins and mystic grounds, there were also battles between young geniuses. Some famous geniuses from the 8 clans of the Forbidden Lands and the human race of the Ashen Azure Divine Realm were also challenged. For example, During this period, many young geniuses had come to the Ashen Azure Divine Realm to challenge Fu Yuan, Zhao Wuji and the others. These geniuses of the Outerverse were all astonishingly strong. They had all sorts of amazing techniques and were born with powerful bloodlines. Even though they were all at the third stage of breaking through, the geniuses of the Ashen Azure Divine Realm were no match for them. Other than Fu Yuan, who fought to a draw with one person, the others were defeated one by one. Lu Ming was focused on tempering himself in seclusion and turned a deaf ear to the challenges in the outside world. Even if someone challenged him by name, he ignored it. His current thoughts were all on how to break through to the Origin Tribulation. A year after Lu Ming's battle with the 8 clans of the Forbidden Lands, a piece of news spread. The #1 genius of the Dark Sky Warriors, Wu Ju, had been challenged. Ever since Shi Tianting broke through to the Origin Tribulation, Wu Ju was the only one left in the Urwild's universe who had broken through 4 times. There was no doubt that the person who challenged Wu Ju was also a 4-time 9th stage cultivator. He was a freak from an extremely prosperous great cosmos in the Yang realm called the Great Cosmos of Tianguang. The Great Cosmos of Tianguang was one of the top 100 great cosmoses of the Yang realm. The battle between 2 4-time 9th stage cultivators attracted the interest of countless people and attracted a large number of spectators. However, Lu Ming remained motionless and continued his seclusion. In the end, news spread that Wu Ju had been defeated. The two had exchanged more than 500 moves, but Wu Ju was still no match for Lu Ming. Even Lu Ming was moved when he heard the news. Wu Ju was as famous as Shi Tianting in the past. It was said that the two had fought more than 10 times, but the outcome had never been decided. Lu Ming was very clear about how strong Shi Tianting was. If not for the home field advantage, Lu Ming might not have been able to defeat Shi Tianting. As for Tianchong, he was also a freak from the great cosmos of Tianguang. He was also suppressed in the desolate universe, but he had still been able to defeat Wu Ju despite being suppressed. After defeating Wu Ju, Tianchong's confidence and condition reached a peak. Then, an even more shocking piece of news spread. Tianchong wanted to break through to the Origin realm. Under the Great Tribulation of the Origin realm, the impact on the Origin realm shocked countless people. Chapter 5093. Tianchong was a peerless genius from Tianguang Great Cosmos. He had broken through 4 times, and his ambition was higher than the heavens. He had the ambition to become a king, and in Tianguang Great Cosmos, he was practically an era-suppressing figure. He was invincible among his peers. When he learned that the antediluvian universe was at the end of its origin source calamity, he immediately rushed over and prepared to break through. He challenged Wu Ju to adjust his condition and boost his confidence. After defeating Wu Ju, Tianchong's aura soared, and his condition reached its peak. He was about to break through, and this attracted the attention of many experts. A large number of experts rushed over to where Tianchong was breaking through. Most of these geniuses were from the Outerverse. These geniuses all had the ambition to become a king, and they all wanted to break through during the origin source calamity. Watching others break through was undoubtedly a better choice. When Lu Ming heard the news, he was also tempted. He ended his seclusion and headed over to where Tianchong was breaking through. Recently, he felt that his condition was already at its peak. After carefully inspecting his body over 100 times, he felt that there were no flaws or weaknesses. However, every time he wanted to break through a bottleneck and break through, he would feel a great danger. This was a kind of origin source, a manifestation of extremely sharp spiritual perception that could seek fortune and avoid calamity. Lu Ming could not figure out the reason no matter how much he thought about it. Perhaps he could find the reason by watching others break through. When Lu Ming arrived, there were already mountains and seas of people. The number of living beings here was astonishing. Most of them were from other universes, and most of them were young people. Lu Ming changed his appearance and concealed his aura. He blended into the crowd and secretly observed. He was shocked. These young people all had powerful auras and were peerless geniuses. Lu Ming sensed an aura similar to Shi Tianting's from many of them. Lu Ming was sure that there were quite a few who had broken through 4 times. Lu Ming observed for a while and found at least 30 geniuses of this level. 30 was a shocking number. In the past, aside from Lu Ming, there were only Shi Tianting and Wu Ju in the various forbidden zones. Furthermore, they were not from this era and had been sealed in ancient times. At the scene, there were suspected to be 30 existences who had broken through the fourth time, or perhaps even more. The fact that they had all gathered here was simply too shocking. But from another perspective, this was normal. There were only a few people in a great cosmos who had broken through 4 times. However, these people didn't come from the same great cosmos. They came from different great cosmoses in the Yang realm and the Yin realm. These people were all ambitious and wanted to break through under the great tribulation of the origin. That was why they had rushed to the primitive universe. It could only be said that the territory of the Yin-Yang universe ocean was too large. Even if there was one in each great cosmos, there would be tens of thousands of them. Of course, it was impossible for every great cosmos to produce an elite who had broken through 4 times. This was unrealistic. It was very difficult for weaker great cosmoses to produce an elite who had broken through 4 times. However, he couldn't say that he was 100% sure. Some of the weaker great cosmoses would also have rare monstrous geniuses. They would rise up and become unparalleled powerhouses. They would lead their great cosmoses to rise continuously, and their rankings would skyrocket. Although such examples were rare, they were not unheard of. These young geniuses each stood in a different direction with their own followers. They were like the overlords of their respective regions. Moreover, Lu Ming found that most of these creatures had taken human form. This made Lu Ming feel a little strange. Lu Ming didn't believe that the true forms of these creatures were all in human form. There were probably all kinds of them, but why did they all take human form? Could it be that the human race had such an influence in the universe ocean? Lu Ming didn't quite believe it. At the peak of the primitive universe, it was only ranked 11th in the Yang realm. It had some influence, but it wasn't that great. Could it be that all the creatures thought that the human form was the most beautiful? Lu Ming denied this guess. It wasn't very reliable. Lu Ming reckoned that there must be some inside story that he didn't know. He could only slowly find an opportunity to inquire about it in the future. He disguised himself and blended into the crowd, so he didn't stand out. Even if there were people from the 8 forbidden races here, they wouldn't pay attention to Lu Ming, mainly because there were too many creatures. A few days later, Tianchong began to break through. However, the result shocked everyone. Because in the end, Tianchong failed and died under the origin source tribulation, turning into ashes. Lu Ming discovered that the power of the origin source tribulation this time was much stronger than when Shi Tianting broke through. Although Tianchong was extremely talented and powerful, stronger than Shi Tianting and Wu Ju of the same realm, he still couldn't withstand it. His unwilling roar shook the void of the universe, but in the end it was useless and he turned into ashes. Some of Tianchong's protectors were anxious and wanted to save him, but they also died under the origin source tribulation. The scene fell silent. This scene was out of everyone's expectations. It was like a bucket of cold water being poured over the heads of those ambitious geniuses. They knew very well how strong Tianchong was. When he was fighting with all his strength just now, he had displayed his strength to the extreme. Whether it was his physical body or soul, they had both reached a peak. Even though they were also at the 4th level of the extreme break, some people felt that they were inferior to Tianchong. If Tianchong was defeated, how could they succeed? Breaking through under the origin source tribulation was so difficult? No, when Shi Tianting broke through, the power of the origin source tribulation was far from this strong. Why is Tianchong's breakthrough so powerful? Someone exclaimed. Lu Ming glanced around and found that it was the number 1 genius of the nefarious tribe, Evil Cicada. Evil Cicada had seen Shi Tianting break through. Among the people present, except for the 8 clans of the Forbidden Area and some of the people in the Azure Divine Realm, no one from the Outerverse had seen Shi Tianting break through. Someone immediately asked, "What did you say? Are you saying that when Shi Tianting broke through, the suppression of the origin source tribulation wasn't that great?" Yes, it's far from that. Yes, it's far from that. Otherwise, Shi Tianting couldn't have broken through successfully. Several geniuses from the 8 clans of the Forbidden Area spoke one after another. I see. I understand now. It's the cosmic sea's berserk. A youth from the Outerverse said. What's the cosmic sea's berserk? Some people who didn't understand asked. Legend has it that during the Origin Source Tribulation, once someone breaks through to the Origin Realm under the Origin Source Tribulation, it will cause the cosmic sea to go berserk. If someone wants to break through later, the cosmic sea will go berserk, and the Origin Source Tribulation suppression will increase exponentially. It will be difficult for anyone to break through under the Origin Source Tribulation. The person from before explained. Yes, I've also heard of such rumors. Not all Origin Source Tribulations are like this. Many universes experience Origin Source Tribulations, but it's not like this. No one will break through and cause the Origin Source Tribulation suppression to increase. This is only a minority. I didn't expect to encounter it. Another person explained. Chapter 5094. Most of the people present were silent, especially those geniuses who were determined to break through under the Great Calamity. Their expressions were even more unsightly. If that was the case, wouldn't they have no chance? There were too many benefits to breaking through under the Great Calamity. Once they broke through, their potential and talent would be greatly improved, and they could greatly expand their future path. It would allow their future cultivation to be faster and more stable, surpassing their peers. How could they miss such a good opportunity? It could be said that Shi Tianting's breakthrough had blocked the path of the others. Why is it like this? Wu Ju's face was pale. If that was the case, wouldn't he have no chance to catch up with Shi Tianting? The gap between him and Shi Tianting was difficult to make up. Only after breaking through to the Origin and obtaining other heaven-defying opportunities could he catch up. Lu Ming was the same. His expression wasn't very good either. He finally understood why he would feel a terrible sense of danger every time he tried to break through to the Origin Source realm. It turned out that it was because of the violent cosmic sea. The pressure of the Great Calamity was too strong. Even if he tried to break through with his strength, it might be difficult to succeed and he would end up dying. It wasn't that he still had a flaw, but that he didn't have the conditions. If he broke through alone, there would be no path for others. Is there no chance at all? Someone asked, unwilling to give up. It's not that there's no chance at all. As long as one is strong enough, one can break through all obstacles. Tianchong failed because he wasn't strong enough. A young man spoke. This person was wearing a white robe and was shrouded in a holy light. Even after seeing Tianchong fail, his tone and expression were still full of confidence. The peerless genius of the holy light great cosmos, Divine Wuxia. The holy light great cosmos, ranked 9th in the Yang realm. Divine Wuxia is also here. I heard that he has broken through 5 times. No wonder he's so confident. Not necessarily. Even if he broke through 5 times, he might not be confident of breaking through successfully. Some people discussed secretly. The holy light great cosmos, ranked 9th in the Yang realm. Lu Ming couldn't help but look at Divine Wuxia in shock. To be able to rank in the top 10 among the tens of thousands of great cosmoses in the Yang realm was absolutely terrifying. It must be known that the end of the Your Wilds universe was the most prosperous period in the history of the Your Wilds universe. Even so, it was only ranked 11th in the world of the living. There was still a significant gap between it and 9th place. A universe like that attracted a lot of attention. Many people looked at Unparalleled Holy. That was especially true of the universes from the underworld. They were all wondering how they could get rid of Unparalleled Holy. Even in the entire universe ocean, those who broke through 5 limits were top-notch freaks. They had endless potential, and there was hope for them to become kings in the future. Once they grew up, they would become another great enemy of the underworld. This kind of future enemy should be eliminated as soon as possible. However, Divine Wuxia was fearless and still very confident. If you're strong enough, of course you can break through all obstacles. But with your divine peerless strength, you're still far from enough. If you're so capable, why don't you try breaking through? Someone mocked. Many people felt their hearts tremble. How bold of him to mock the divine and unparalleled person to his face. The sacred light great cosmos was famous for being overbearing. Anyone who offended them would not have a good ending. However, when everyone saw the person who spoke, they understood. It was a golden skeleton. Its golden bones were even more resplendent than gold. They flickered with terrifying light and looked indestructible. The ancestral immortal bone of the skeletal great cosmos. Someone muttered, sucking in a breath of cold air. The skeletal great cosmos was a top-notch great cosmos in the underworld. Among the tens of thousands of great cosmoses in the underworld, it was also ranked 7th. It was ranked even higher than the sacred light great cosmos in the Yang realm. Moreover, the ancestral immortal bone had an even more shocking origin. Legend had it that the bones of an immortal Tao human monarch had given birth to consciousness. They were born exceptionally powerful, and their bone defense was extremely terrifying. They were almost indestructible. Their only weakness was their soul. If one wanted to defeat them, they had to first defeat their soul. There's actually such a great cosmos? Bone Demon was really born in the wrong place. If he went to the skeletal great cosmos, he would be like a fish in water. Lu Ming muttered in his heart. Divine Wushuang's eyes were like two suns as he scanned the ancestral immortal bone. In the end, he did not speak. Clearly, he was very wary of the ancestral immortal bone. Lu Ming mixed in the crowd and listened to everyone's conversation. He heard many secrets of the universe ocean. This allowed him to know more about the situation of the universe ocean. Legend has it that at the end of the prehistoric era, the human race, the Wu people, and the monster race worked together and spent countless resources to build a sky-stepping platform. Stepping on the sky-stepping platform can refine one's soul and body with the ancient power of the universe, greatly improving one's talent and potential in all aspects. I wonder if that's true? Someone began to discuss. Yes, there are detailed records in the ancient books of my race. The sky-stepping platform is also an important reason why the primitive universe was able to rise so quickly back then. It can allow their top elites to reach a higher level and give birth to more overlords, forming a virtuous cycle. However, the core material to build the sky-stepping platform is too rare and difficult to find. Many great cosmoses want to build it, but they can't. Someone else spoke and confirmed this matter. I don't know if the sky-stepping platform was preserved during the war of the prehistoric era. If it was preserved and we can find it, we can use it to reach a higher level and perfect all aspects. We might be able to break through under the origin tribulation. Someone whispered. This made many people's eyes burn with passion. The sky-stepping platform was a treasure of the primitive universe back then. The reason why the primitive universe was able to rise so quickly was related to it. Many great cosmoses were envious. Even many powerful great cosmoses didn't have it. Only the top 10 great cosmoses should have it. However, the sky-stepping platform couldn't be opened at will. Every time it was opened, it had to wait a long time before it could be opened again. Therefore, many of the elites of the top 10 great cosmoses hadn't stepped on the sky-stepping platform before. Hearing this, they were extremely tempted. If the sky-stepping platform of the primitive universe was still there, it hadn't been opened for countless years. Once they found it, they would definitely be able to open it. With the help of the sky-stepping platform, they could become stronger and break through under the origin tribulation. Let's go and find it. It must be sealed somewhere in the primitive universe. Many people whispered and left. The sky-stepping platform? Lu Ming's eyes were also burning with passion. If he could use the sky-stepping platform, he might be able to break through. However, it wouldn't be easy to find it first. Otherwise, it would have been discovered by the 8 races in the forbidden area. I'll leave it to fate. I'm still not strong enough. I still have room for improvement. My Genesis arts should be far from the peak. Lu Ming pondered and left the place, returning to the Tsongqing Divine Realm. Chapter 5095. Of course, after Lu Ming returned to the Tsongqing Divine Realm, he didn't focus on seclusion. He asked someone to pay attention to the situation in the universe, especially regarding the heaven-trampling platform. If there was any news, they would inform him. Time passed quickly, and 10 years passed in the blink of an eye. In these 10 years, the Anhuang universe had become more and more chaotic, because more and more people had entered the Anhuang universe. Outerverse experts could be seen everywhere in the Anhuang universe, and battles could be seen everywhere. Especially now that the primitive universe was drifting at the border between the Yang world and the Yin world, a large number of experts from both sides had entered the primitive universe. Once the creatures of the Yang world and the Yin world met, there was nothing to say, it would be a battle of life and death, the kind that would not stop until one of them was dead. One could imagine how tragic the war in the Anhuang universe was during this period. It had become a battlefield between the Yang world and the Yin world, and origin source blood flowed everywhere. As for those ancient ruins and secret lands, they naturally became the focus of the competition. Every ancient ruin and secret land was soaked in blood. Although many secret places and ruins couldn't be opened now, they could be occupied first. When the origin source tribulation was over, the immortal tribulation experts of the various universes would come and open them. In these 10 years, Lu Ming had been cultivating in seclusion, hoping to become stronger. Unfortunately, his progress was very limited. At Lu Ming's current level, almost all aspects had reached a kind of limit, such as his physical body, forbidden origin power, and spirit. Unless he made a breakthrough, it would be too difficult to improve. As for Genesis techniques, Lu Ming had just comprehended them not long ago. The space for improvement should be very large, but Genesis techniques needed a long time to accumulate. 10 years was like an instant to a god. It was too short. Even with Lu Ming's talent, it was difficult to make much progress. At this speed, it was impossible for Lu Ming to break through the origin source tribulation and obtain the gift of the cosmic sea. But at this moment, a piece of news rapidly spread throughout the Anhuang universe. The heaven-trampling platform had appeared and was found. When Lu Ming received the news, he immediately came out of seclusion and asked Mullins for details. Mullins told him that the news came from the White Feather Great Cosmos. The sky-trampling platform had also been found by the people of the White Feather Great Cosmos. The people of White Feather Great Cosmos found the heaven-trampling platform. Why did they spread the news instead of using it themselves? Lu Ming was curious. The White Feather Great Cosmos was considered a relatively strong cosmos in the Yang realm and was ranked within the top 1,000. It is said that the White Feather Great Cosmos did not have enough manpower and could only rely on people from other cosmoses to activate the sky-trampling platform. Therefore, they could only spread the news and invite all the elites to gather at the sky-trampling platform. Of course, there are also people who say that when the White Feather Great Cosmos discovered the sky-trampling platform, it was also discovered by people from other great cosmoses. Seeing that the news could no longer be hidden, they could only spread the news to prevent other parties from targeting them. Now, many elites from the Ashen Green Immortal realm have set off for the sky-trampling platform. Mullins explained. "Let's go and take a look," Lu Ming said. Since the heaven-trampling platform had appeared, Lu Ming absolutely would not miss it. Lu Ming, Mullins, and Huang Ling went together. On the way, they met Fu Yuan, Zhao Wuji, and the others so they could accompany them to the sky-trampling platform. Along the way, he learned more details from Fu Yuan and the others. The current sky-trampling platform was very likely broken and incomplete. Some people speculated that it might be a part of the complete sky-trampling platform that had been hidden in the void. Therefore, the great forbidden lands in the Western cosmos, including the Ashen Green Immortal realm, had not discovered it. Now, the main reason was that there were too many outerverse beings. In the vast universe, outerverse beings could be seen everywhere. After a thorough search, they had finally found the sky-trampling platform. Otherwise, if the sky-trampling platform wanted to appear, they could only rely on luck. After a period of time, Lu Ming and the others arrived at the location of the sky-trampling platform. The sky-trampling platform was on a fragment of a continent. At this moment, there was already a sea of people on this fragment of a continent. Furthermore, there were still people rushing over from all directions. On one side, there were Yang realm beings, and on the other side, there were Yin realm beings. Both sides maintained a delicate balance, and there was no great battle. Lu Ming and the others mingled with the Yang realm as they headed towards the center of the fragment. In the center, there was a huge stone platform. This stone platform was obviously man-made. It was octagonal, like a huge 8 trigrams that stood tall on the ground. The stone platform was very large and had a very wide area. Just one side could be 100,000 kilometers long. However, there were a few cracks on the stone platform that extended from one end to the other. It was as if the stone platform would fall apart at any moment. There were beings everywhere around the stone platform. All of them had powerful auras, especially the young ones. Needless to say, they were all geniuses. The sky-trampling platform was originally prepared for geniuses. Such a huge sky-trampling platform can't be hidden even if we want to. It will be discovered soon. No wonder the Feather Flight Great Cosmos spread the news. Lu Ming pondered. The antediluvian universe is the Yang realm's great cosmos. It belongs to the Yang realm. Yuan realm beings can scram. Suddenly, a cold shout came from around the sky-trampling platform. Ha! How laughable! The primitive universe is now at the border between the world of the living and the world of the underworld. It doesn't belong to the world of the living. Besides, even if it does belong to the world of the living, it will belong to the world of the underworld if we take it down. Someone from the Yin realm sneered. You're being unreasonable. Do you have the ability to attack it? Someone from the Yang realm shouted. No ability? How was the antediluvian universe destroyed back then? Wasn't it destroyed by the mighty figures of the Yin realm? The beings of the Yin realm replied. The two sides argued, and the smell of gunpowder was intense. However, they were restrained to a certain extent, and a great battle did not break out. There were too many living beings here today. Once a great battle broke out, it would be difficult to control, and it would cause a terrifying bloodshed. Moreover, the difference in strength between the two sides was not great. If a great battle really broke out, neither side was confident of winning. Most importantly, the main purpose of everyone here today was the sky-trampling platform, especially the top monstrous geniuses. The most important purpose was to use the sky-trampling platform to temper themselves and let them reach a higher level so that they could break through under the origin tribulation. In the past 10 years, no monstrous genius had tried to break through to the origin realm. When Tian Chong broke through, the suppression of the origin tribulation was too terrifying. No one was confident. Now, the sky-trampling platform was undoubtedly an opportunity. The sky-trampling platform has cracks. Can it still be used? Moreover, it's a little different from the legendary sky-trampling platforms of other powerful universes. This sky-trampling platform looks a little too small. It's far from as huge and imposing as the legends say. Many people in the crowd raised questions. Chapter 5096. I believe many people already know that this heaven-trampling platform is damaged. Perhaps it's only a part of the complete heaven-trampling platform. The complete one was destroyed in the great battle back then. An old man stood on the octagonal stone platform. He wore the white feather battle suit and was an origin realm expert of the white feather great cosmos. Since it's a damaged heaven-trampling platform, can it still be used? Someone asked. Yes. The old man from the white feather great cosmos said, through our research, although this heaven-trampling platform is damaged, its functions are almost the same as a complete one. However, it can only hold a small number of people and can only be used once. I'm afraid that after it's activated once, this heaven-trampling platform will completely fall apart. The old man from the white feather great cosmos explained. Many people felt that it was a pity. If it could be used continuously, many great cosmoses would be envious. Even the top 10 great cosmoses of the Yin world and the Yang world would be tempted and try to snatch it. However, a heaven-trampling platform that could only be used once wouldn't be of much use. If it couldn't be used continuously, it wouldn't be able to create powerful geniuses. Everyone understood that this was the reason why the beings of the white feather great cosmos had announced it to the world. If it was a complete heaven-trampling platform that could be used continuously, the white feather great cosmos would probably do everything they could to take it away. Why would the news spread? Then how can we activate the heaven-trampling platform? Someone asked. It's very simple. The heaven-trampling platform is specially used by young geniuses. There's a restriction on it that tests one's age. Therefore, those who are old can forget about it. It's useless. As long as enough young geniuses step on this stone platform and circulate the blood in their bodies, the heaven trampling platform can be activated. The old man from the white feather great cosmos said. Then what are we waiting for? We have enough geniuses now. We can activate the heaven trampling platform now. That's right. We can activate it immediately. Why are we wasting time? Many people shouted. Those who shouted didn't have much confidence in themselves. If they activated it before many geniuses arrived, they might be able to get a share of the loot. However, the more they waited, the more geniuses would arrive and they wouldn't have a chance. No, our geniuses haven't arrived yet. We can't activate it. Someone said in an overbearing tone. How laughable. Your clan's geniuses haven't arrived, yet you can't activate it. Why do you need so many people to wait for them? That's right. This is simply laughable. How can opportunities wait for people? Since you came late, you have to bear the consequences. Many people said unhappily. But we are from the holy light great cosmos. A cold voice was heard, and that area was covered by dense holy light. Many people shut their mouths. This was the holy light cosmos, ranked 9th in the Yang realm. It had always been domineering and terrifyingly powerful. Who would dare to offend it? Even the great cosmoses, which were also in the top 10, had to give them face. For example, the Jade Clear Great Cosmos, which was ranked 10th in the Yang realm, did not voice any objections even though most of the geniuses were present. Instead, they stood there quietly. Firstly, they were apprehensive of the great cosmos and didn't want to offend them. Secondly, the top geniuses among them were very confident and felt that they were not weaker than others. No matter how many geniuses came, they would still have a place. At the same time, on the in-world side, there were powerful cosmos geniuses who hadn't arrived yet, needing to wait, stopping everyone from opening the heaven trampling platform. Facing these colossal great cosmoses, the living beings of the other cosmoses naturally didn't dare to say anything. There were many cosmoses in the vast cosmic sea. The Yang realm and the Yin world added up to more than 70,000 great cosmoses. However, there was a huge difference in strength between these great cosmoses. The top 10 in the Yang realm or the Yin world were all astonishingly powerful. They had been around for countless years, and who knew how many terrifying existences resided there. It could be said that the Immortals were unhindered, and there were many Immortal Dao powerhouses. Some of the weaker great cosmoses didn't even have a single Immortal Dao powerhouse. Those powerful great cosmoses could casually send out a powerhouse to destroy those weaker great cosmoses. The difference wasn't ordinary. Those weaker great cosmoses naturally didn't dare to offend the powerful great cosmoses. Everyone could only wait. After a few more days, the geniuses of those powerful great cosmoses arrived one after another. For example, the holy light great cosmos peerless genius, sacred unparalleled. There was also the skeletal great cosmos atavistic immortal bone. Of course, there weren't just two such powerful geniuses. In the past 10 years, more geniuses had definitely come. Lu Ming secretly observed. Some people had astonishing auras, and even he felt pressured. Now, among those at the same level, those who could make Lu Ming feel a little pressured were at least 4-time extreme break. Those who felt a little pressured were definitely at least 5th-time extreme break. Of course, there were also Origin Realm geniuses secretly, such as Shi Tianting. However, Origin Realm geniuses didn't participate in the competition. The heaven trampling platform was mainly targeted at those below the Origin Realm. Let's begin. All young geniuses can go up the platform. The old man from the white feather great cosmos said and flew off the stone platform. Whoosh! Immediately, a dense crowd of young geniuses flew up the stone platform. The number was astonishing. At a rough glance, there were at least a few 100,000 of them. Yes, there were a few 100,000 young geniuses, and all of them were peak almighty. Some of them had even broken through. The weakest of them had broken through once. This was completely unimaginable in the past. How many people in the entire heavenly human race had reached the level of the strongest Lord of Heaven? Now, there were a few 100,000 of them, and they were all young geniuses. It was unimaginable. However, in the vast cosmic sea, where various great cosmoses gathered, this wasn't much. Moreover, it couldn't be the gathering of all the peak almighty geniuses in the universe. There couldn't be so few of them. This was only a small portion of the vast cosmic sea. Lu Ming, you can go. We won't go. Mulins and Huang Ling said. They knew themselves very well. Although they had the power of 2 breakthroughs and would have been considered top-notch geniuses in the primitive universe, they were nothing in the cosmic ocean. There were too many geniuses. They wouldn't be able to compete even if they went up. All right, you guys stay beside the people from the Jade Clear Great Cosmos. Lu Ming nodded and secretly transmitted his voice. This was good too. If Mulins and the others didn't compete, he wouldn't have to worry. Staying beside the people from the Jade Clear Great Cosmos would prevent them from being targeted. Then he moved and rushed up the stone platform. Fu Yuan, Zhao Wuji, and the others were peerless geniuses who had broken through 3 times. Naturally, they wouldn't give up and rushed up the stone platform as well. In the cosmic sea, those who had broken through 3 times were considered top geniuses. Boom! After a few 100,000 young geniuses landed on the stone platform, they stimulated their blood qi. Instantly, the blood qi on the octagonal stone platform soared into the sky like countless volcanoes erupting at the same time. At the same time, the octagonal stone platform shook violently. Dense runes appeared on it. From afar, the octagonal stone platform really looked like an 8 trigrams platform. After a short while, small octagonal stone platforms appeared in each of the 8 corners of the octagonal stone platform. Chapter 5097. In each of the 8 corners of the octagonal stone platform, there were some small octagonal stone platforms. It could be seen that there were 8 small octagonal stone platforms in each of the 8 corners. These small octagonal stone platforms floated in the air and were also covered with runes. There were a total of 64 small stone platforms in the 8 corners. Many people's eyes lit up. The heaven trampling platform had been successfully activated. The opportunities were on these small octagonal stone platforms. Even if one had not eaten pork, they would have seen pigs run. Although no one present had used the heaven trampling platform, most of them had heard of its legend. The heaven trampling platform would normally constantly absorb the energy of the universe, which would then be condensed and transformed into an extremely pure and special energy. Once this energy entered the body, it would greatly enhance the physical body, soul, and even the forbidden origin power. It could be said that it could allow a living being to greatly improve in all aspects. In order to activate this energy, one had to step onto one of the small octagonal stone platforms. However, only one person was allowed to step onto a stone platform. But there were hundreds of thousands of people present who wanted to compete. That stone platform is mine. I must occupy one of the stone platforms. The next moment, hundreds of thousands of figures moved, charging towards the 64 octagonal stone platforms. There were a total of 64 stone platforms, but there were hundreds of thousands of competitors. On average, there were more than 5,000 people competing for each stone platform. A stone platform could not accommodate more than 5,000 people. Therefore, before they landed on the stone platforms, all kinds of attacks erupted in the void. Dazzling light collided and filled half the sky. Instantly, blood splattered everywhere. People were killed and their corpses fell to the ground. The competition was very cruel. It could be seen that some people were very powerful, such as the atavistic Immortal Bone and sacred Wushuang from the sacred light great cosmos. These people were too strong. When the power of a quintuple extreme break erupted, their attacks were unstoppable. Even quintuple extreme break experts would be injured by a single move, let alone those who had broken through 3 times and below. Many people were terrified and quickly retreated, rushing to the other stone platforms. This was because they knew that with quintuple extreme break experts present, they could not compete at all. If they were not careful, they would be killed. Therefore, the competition for the other stone platforms was even greater. Some stone platforms had more than 10,000 people competing. Of course, not everyone on the stone platforms retreated in fear of quintuple extreme break experts. Some people on the stone platforms did not retreat. Instead, many experts planned to join forces to defeat quintuple extreme break experts. Because these 64 stone platforms were only the first step. A stone platform. There were 8 stone platforms in each direction. Once the 8 stone platforms were determined, the competition would continue. 8 to 4, and a new stone platform would appear. The higher the stone platform, the more energy one would be able to draw upon, and the more one would be able to temper one's body. As such, one would be able to reap greater benefits. If they did not deal with quintuple extreme break experts, they would encounter them later. Boom. A terrifying battle had a fierce extreme break over 100 people eventually landed on the stone platform. Then, they joined forces to attack a purple gold giant. This purple gold giant was more than 10 meters tall, and its entire body was purple gold. Even its hair was purple gold, as if it was made of purple gold. Its entire body was impervious to swords and spears, and it had immense strength and terrifying combat strength. This was a member of the War Giant clan. Without a doubt, this was a powerful being who had broken through 5 times. Over 100 Sky Prides besieged the purple gold giant. However, it was clear that these people had underestimated the terror of breaking through 5 times. Zijin was actually holding a purple gold battle axe in his hand, and no one was able to withstand his attacks. Even someone who had broken through 4 levels of the pinnacle was unable to fight back in front of him, and was severely injured in one move. You think you can stop me? Kill all of you. The purple gold giant roared. His muscles wriggled and his blood surged, shaking the void. His eyes were like suns, flickering with raging battle intent. The battle axe hacked out crazily. There was nothing fancy about it, but the attack power of each axe was terrifyingly strong. A blood-curdling scream came from a silver-skinned youth. This silver-skinned youth was cleaved in half by the violet gold, and even his soul couldn't escape. Fear appeared on the others' faces. That silver-skinned young man was someone who had broken through 4 times of the Immortal Ascension stage. He was definitely a freakish genius, and yet he had been killed. Everyone else was terrified. Come on, come on. The purple golden giant roared, its battle intent raging. However, no one dared to make a move. The so-called alliance was only temporary. If the situation turned bad, the alliance would naturally collapse. Go to the other stone platforms. The prodigies on this stone platform left one after another, rushing to the other stone platforms like lightning. Hee hee, you want to fight me without breaking through 5 times of the Immortal Ascension stage? You're overestimating yourself. The purple gold giant snickered and stomped his foot. Powerful blood essence and taboo origin energy erupted and surged into the stone platform. Boom! The stone platform rumbled, and dense runes lit up. A powerful force surged out of the stone platform, enveloping the purple gold giant within. The energy contained within the stone platform had been activated. The others had already occupied this stone platform, and they had lost the right to compete. This way, the competition for the stone platforms that hadn't broken through 5 times of the Immortal Ascension stage would be even greater. After all, there weren't that many existences who had broken through 5 times of the Immortal Ascension stage. It was impossible for every stone platform to have someone who had broken through 5 times of the Immortal Ascension stage. In fact, everyone estimated that there were only about 5 existences who had broken through 5 times of the Immortal Ascension stage. Why was it estimated? Because it was very difficult to see with the naked eye, unless the other party displayed their full strength. It was hard to guarantee that some people were still hiding their strength. In the vast cosmic sea and close to 70,000 great cosmoses, there were naturally far more than 5 people who had broken through 5 times of the Immortal Ascension stage. However, there were only about 5 people who had come to the primitive universe. Some were too far away and couldn't rush over in a short period of time. Some were in seclusion, and some had other opportunities. There were countless opportunities in the vast cosmic sea, and the primitive universe wasn't the only place with opportunities. There were 5 people who had broken through 5 times of the Immortal Ascension stage. No one competed for these 5 stone platforms at all. They directly occupied them, drawing on the energy of the stone platforms to temper themselves. More than 10,000 people competed for Lu Ming's stone platform. Of course, many people were quickly eliminated. Those who had broken through once or twice of the Immortal Ascension stage weren't qualified to compete at all. If they were careless, they would be killed. The competition was very cruel. In just a few minutes, hundreds of geniuses were killed. These people were all geniuses with great prospects. Even without this opportunity, they wouldn't be weak. Naturally, they didn't want to die here. Therefore, many people gave up and quickly retreated when they saw that they couldn't compete. Those who could really compete had to have broken through 3 times of the Immortal Ascension stage. Chapter 5098. In the end, more than 100 geniuses landed on Lu Ming's stone platform. Almost all of them had the combat strength of a 3rd stage extreme break. And there were more than 10 people who were suspected to have reached the 4th stage extreme break. Many people looked at each other with cold gazes, all of them wanting to suppress each other. "Brat, get down here!" Beside Lu Ming, a burly figure suddenly charged towards Lu Ming. The sinister and cold aura swept toward Lu Ming wildly. This was a genius from the Yin world. His combat strength was very powerful. He had the combat strength of a 3rd stage extreme break, second only to a 4th stage extreme break. At the same time, the other people from the Yin world also launched an attack. Their target was the genius from the Yang world. Obviously, the geniuses of the Yin world wanted to join forces to defeat the geniuses of the Yang world first, and then compete with each other. It was not only this octagonal stone platform, the other octagonal stone platforms were the same. The people from the Yin world were joining forces to defeat the people from the Yang world first. Of course, the people from the Yang world also had the same intention. The people on both sides fought together. "You're the one who should get lost." Lu Ming's eyes were cold. His war god spear swept out and collided with the expert from the Yin world. With a boom, the expert from the Yin world trembled. His arm exploded and his body flew out of the stone platform like a sack. He vomited large mouthfuls of blood and almost died. Around him, the others were shocked. They did not expect that Lu Ming, who looked ordinary, would be so powerful. A genius who was about to reach the 4th stage extreme break was beaten half to death in one move. Immediately, several geniuses from the Yin world stared at Lu Ming. "You have some skills, I'll take you on." A woman with a head full of snake hair charged towards Lu Ming. This woman's hair was small and her body was constantly twisting and hissing. It was very terrifying. Moreover, these snake hair could spit out beams of light with terrifying power. Anyone who was hit by these beams of light would be turned into stone and then shattered by this woman. Previously, Lu Ming had seen with his own eyes several Yang realm geniuses being turned into stone by this woman and then smashed to pieces. Lu Ming brandished his war god spear and spun at an extremely fast speed. An extremely powerful qi blocked the beam of light shot out by the snake-haired woman. Then, the war god spear shook and turned into an incomparably sharp spear light that pierced towards the snake-haired woman. Lu Ming did not use any Genesis techniques for the time being. His Genesis techniques were rather special. Once they were used, they consumed far too much origin power. Moreover, now was not the time to use it. If he used it now and revealed the power of 5-break extremity, he would most likely be besieged by others. The contestants for this stone platform were all geniuses from the outerverse. None of them recognized Lu Ming, and none of them knew that Lu Ming had broken through 5 times. When the others were almost done fighting, Lu Ming would reveal his strongest combat strength and decide the outcome of the battle in one fell swoop. Lu Ming and the snake-haired woman clashed, but they were not in a hurry to defeat each other. Instead, they exchanged blows, and it was difficult to tell who had the upper hand. After a while, there were only a dozen or so contestants left on the stone platform. The others had all been defeated and had retreated while coughing up blood. There were even some who had been killed and died on the spot. Boom. Some people tried to activate their blood essence and origin power to activate the stone platform's energy, but it was impossible. The outcome of the battle had not been decided yet, so it was impossible to activate the stone platform's energy. At this moment, Lu Ming intensified his attacks, and the snake-haired woman was forced to retreat. Desolation style, Sky Splitter style, Lu Ming used 2 killer moves in succession. The snake-haired woman screamed in pain, but she was no match for Lu Ming. She spat out large mouthfuls of blood and was blasted off the stone platform. Her chest had been pierced through by Lu Ming's war god spear, and blood flowed out. She had been severely injured, and her vitality had been greatly damaged. She wanted to rush back to the platform to continue the battle, but the elders of her race stopped her. She had already been defeated and severely injured. There was no point in going back. If she was not careful, she might even lose her life there. After Lu Ming defeated the snake-haired woman, he rushed to the other battlefield and helped a prodigy from the Yang world to attack a prodigy from the Yin world. The two of them joined forces and defeated the prodigy from the Yin world quickly. The balance of the stone platform was broken, and the people from the Yang world gained the absolute upper hand. Not long after, all the prodigies from the Yin world were defeated. At this time, there were 6 people left on the stone platform. These 6 people were all from the Yang world, and they were all existences who had broken through 4 times. Brother, your combat power is not bad, but you don't look familiar. May I know which universe you are from? A young man looked at Lu Ming and smiled. The Desolation Universe. Lu Ming replied. There was nothing to hide. When he displayed his strongest combat power later, these people would definitely know his origin. The Desolation Universe? The other 5 young men on the stone platform were stunned when they heard that. Lu Ming was from the Desolation Universe? Could he be a human from the Desolation Universe? However, the current human race in the Desolation Universe was only a remnant of the human race. It was worlds apart from the human race of the past. There were no prodigies worth their attention at all. They did not expect that there would be someone like Lu Ming. A broken great universe with a broken universe core and incomplete laws and profundities was actually able to produce a prodigy like Lu Ming. It was really rare. There are only 6 of us left. Let's fight it out. Another young woman said. She was very beautiful and had an outstanding temperament. I think it's better for all of you to step down. This stone platform is mine. The one who spoke was Lu Ming. The other 5 people looked at Lu Ming. What a big tone. He actually wanted the 5 of them to leave. Lu Ming's strength was not bad, but it was not strong enough to suppress the 5 of them. Boom. At that moment, an even more powerful aura erupted from Lu Ming's body. His body swelled and became 10 meters tall. The divine battle spear was surrounded by divine light, and his aura was oppressive. This aura made the other 5 young prodigies' faces turn solemn. They felt a strong pressure. However, it was just pressure. They could not be sure of Lu Ming's true combat strength without making a move. Let me see how strong you are. A burly young man rushed toward Lu Ming. He had a purple gold rod in his hand, which was a top-grade source-grade divine weapon. He smashed the rod toward Lu Ming. A 4-time extreme break prodigy attacked with all his strength. His combat strength was shocking. However, Lu Ming's expression did not change at all. The divine battle spear swept out and collided with the purple gold rod. With a clang, the purple gold rod vibrated violently. The burly young man's body shook violently and flew out of the stone platform like a meteorite. His arm trembled nonstop. The bones in his arm had been broken. 5 times extreme break. The burly young man's voice was trembling. The others also sucked in a breath of cold air, revealing a look of shock. Lu Ming was actually a peerless prodigy who had broken through 5 times extreme break. The surrounding onlookers also looked at Lu Ming. The 6th person who had broken through 5 times extreme break had appeared. Chapter 5099. The surrounding spectators all looked at Lu Ming. Humph! Many people from the 8 clans of the Forbidden Area finally noticed Lu Ming and immediately snorted. Do you know this kid? Someone asked the people of the 8 clans of the Forbidden Area. When they learned about Lu Ming's identity, everyone was shocked. They had never expected that this new 5-tiered extreme break was actually a remnant of the human race from the primitive universe. The talent of the human race is really terrifying. No wonder they could rise so quickly back then and shake the heavens. Someone exclaimed. There were close to 70,000 great cosmoses in the cosmic sea, and it was fully deserving of being called the heavens. You're right. The primitive universe has been destroyed, and the laws and order are no longer complete. Yet, it can still produce a 5-tiered extreme break. What a monster! There is indeed a 5-tiered extreme break hidden in the crowd. Besides Lu Ming, there might be more. They must want to compete for the highest sky trampling platform. There will be a good show to watch. There was a lot of discussion in the crowd. In general, the appearance of a new 5-tiered extreme break didn't shock the crowd too much. They were more shocked by Lu Ming's identity. Do you guys still want to fight? On the stone platform, Lu Ming's fighting spirit was burning as he glanced at the remaining 4 elites. A 5-tiered extreme break. I don't want to fight anymore. A young woman shook her head and smiled bitterly. Then, with a swoosh, she left the stone platform. She knew her own limits. At the same time, she also knew about the 5-tiered extreme break very well because there was also a 5-tiered extreme break in their great cosmos. Although that 5-tiered extreme break didn't come this time, she had fought with him before. She knew the difference between a 4-tiered extreme break and a 5-tiered extreme break. Even if the 4 of them joined forces, they wouldn't be a match for Lu Ming. Since they weren't a match for him, they might as well quit and compete for the other stone platforms. Now, some of the stone platforms hadn't been decided yet. It was still not too late for them to go. After the young woman left, the remaining 3 people also left and rushed to the other stone platforms. There was only Lu Ming on this stone platform. Boom! Lu Ming took a step forward and his blood boiled. His source strength and blood flowed into the stone platform, causing it to shake. An incomparably powerful energy gushed out and covered Lu Ming's body. The energy contained within the stone platform was activated by Lu Ming. This energy was too pure, as if it was the condensation of an innate spirit. Lu Ming only needed to circulate his energy slightly, and this energy would madly rush towards Lu Ming and be absorbed by Lu Ming. After being absorbed by Lu Ming, this surge of energy rapidly spread throughout his body, seeping into his limbs, bones, internal organs, and every cell. Furthermore, it also entered his soul. Lu Ming could feel that his body and soul, which had almost reached their limits, were being tempered and rapidly improved. It wasn't just his body and soul that were improving. Even his taboo origins were improving. This improvement wasn't an improvement in his cultivation base, but an improvement in his foundation. It was as if he was building a foundation and improving in all aspects. Wonderful. It is indeed wonderful. It is indeed worthy of being called the sky trampling platform. I originally thought that it would be difficult for my taboo origins to improve if I didn't break through my cultivation base. I never imagined that it would continue to improve. Lu Ming sighed in amazement. At the same time, he was even more determined to continue. This was only the first step of the sky trampling platform. There were even more advanced stone platforms that needed to be lured out by the battles between the geniuses. If there weren't enough people or geniuses, the true sky trampling platform wouldn't appear. This was also one of the reasons why the White Feather Great Cosmos had announced the sky trampling platform. Because they didn't have enough people, even if they discovered the sky trampling platform, they wouldn't be able to use it. Unless they called all the geniuses of the White Feather Great Cosmos over, but that would take a lot of time. Once they did, the sky trampling platform would be discovered by others. Hence, they might as well announce it openly. While Lu Ming was being tempered by the sky trampling platform, the competition on the other stone platforms was still ongoing. Without breaking through 5 times, it would be very difficult to achieve a one-sided victory. Even a genius who had broken through the limit 4 times wouldn't be able to crush someone who had broken through the limit 4 times. There was a limit to how strong they could be. Therefore, many battles on the stone platforms were extremely tragic. For the sake of opportunities, people would kill each other. Unless the difference in battle strength was too great, no one would be willing to give up easily. After all, the sky trampling platform was too important to them. Although the tempering of the sky trampling platform couldn't directly increase one's cultivation base or battle strength, it could greatly improve one's foundation. Foundation often represented potential. In addition, if one wanted to break through to the origin realm during the Great Origin Tribulation, one's foundation was too important. The stronger one's foundation, the higher the chances of breaking through to the origin realm during the Great Origin Tribulation. If one wanted to break through to the origin realm during the Great Origin Tribulation, one's battle strength didn't necessarily mean one's chances of breaking through. This wasn't necessarily the case. In history, there had been many 4-time extreme breakers who had successfully broken through, but there had also been many 5th-time extreme breakers who had failed. In general, the higher one's battle strength, the higher the chances of breaking through, but it wasn't 100%. However, one thing was certain. The stronger one's foundation, the higher the chances of breaking through. Breaking through under the Great Origin Tribulation was a test of one's physical body, soul, and other aspects. For geniuses who were determined to break through under the Great Origin Tribulation, the sky-trampling platform held great significance. Kill. The battles on the various stone platforms were extremely fierce, and the battle had reached a point where even those who had broken through 3 times could no longer interfere. It was almost a showdown between 4-time extreme breakers. Fu Yuan, Zhao Wuji, and the others coughed up blood as they retreated. Their injuries weren't light, and they had decisively withdrawn from the competition. They were still considered lucky, as some of them who had broken through 3 times had been directly killed, leaving behind a bloodbath. There were even some 4-time extreme breakers who had been killed. There are too many experts. There are actually more than 500 4-time extreme breakers. If I had known that there would be so many experts, I wouldn't have come. There's no hope at all. Zhao Wuji shook his head and smiled bitterly. It was impossible to tell how many extreme breakers there were before they were revealed. They had only known that there were many geniuses among the Outerverse newcomers. However, they didn't know exactly how strong these geniuses were, which was why they had come to compete for the sky-trampling platform. It was only now that they realized that they had been frogs in a well, as the number of geniuses from the Outerverse was terrifying. There were more than 500 4-time extreme breakers, which was a shocking number. Before the universe's passage had been opened, how many 4-time extreme breakers had there been in the entire universe? Including Lu Ming, there had only been 3. They were as rare as phoenix feathers and Qilin horns. At that time, it was simply unimaginable that there had been more than 500 4-time extreme breakers. It had seemed like a fantasy story. However, when they thought about it in reverse, they felt relieved. This was the myriad worlds, and this was the cosmic sea. There were nearly 70,000 extreme breakers in the entire cosmic sea. Even if every few universes produced a 4-time broken extreme limit, how many were there? In particular, the top extreme breakers had even more geniuses of this level. 4-time extreme breakers were not like quintuple martial breakers, so they weren't that rare in the cosmic sea. It was even possible for some mid-tier extreme breakers to be born. Only some weak extreme breakers would find it difficult to produce geniuses of this level. Chapter 5100. For example, in the primeval era of the last era, there was no lack of geniuses who had broken through 4 times. When there were fewer, there were only a few dozen of them. In the most prosperous era, there were even hundreds of them who had broken through 4 times. Of course, the number of people who had broken through 5 times was much lower. Sometimes there was no one in an era. Even in the most prosperous era, there were only a few people who had broken through 5 times in an era. In the primeval era was only ranked 11th in the world of the living. There were definitely more geniuses in the more powerful universes. From this, it could be seen how many geniuses there were in the entire universe C. 500 geniuses who had broken through 4 times was not that exaggerated. This was only a part of it. Most of the geniuses did not come to the primeval era for various reasons. In short, it was not that there were too many geniuses, but that the universe C was too big and there were too many creatures. This battle went on for a full hour. Only then did the situation of the 64 stone platforms become clear. They were all occupied by different people. 8 of them had broken through 5 times. At the end of the battle, 2 more people showed the combat power of 5 times and dominated the crowd to occupy a stone platform. The other 56 were all existences who had broken through 4 times, and most of them were close to 5 times. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to dominate the crowd and occupy a stone platform. If such people had the opportunity, they might be able to break through 5 times. Even the number 1 prodigy of the Dark Heavens warrior race had failed, unable to occupy a single stone platform. Boom! Everyone drew upon the energy on the stone platform to temper their bodies. Many people had been seriously injured in the battle just now. The most seriously injured ones had their bodies torn apart and were on the verge of death. However, with the help of this energy, they quickly recovered and returned to their peak state. Furthermore, they were even stronger than before. Half a day later, everyone finished tempering because the energy drawn from the stone platforms had been exhausted. If they wanted to continue tempering, they had to draw out a higher stone platform and defeat an opponent. Lu Ming sensed it secretly and discovered that his physical body, soul, and source of origin had improved to a higher level. If I can do this a few more times, I'm confident that I can break through under the tribulation of origin. Lu Ming's eyes were shining. He was determined to get the highest sky-stepping platform. After that, Lu Ming began to size up the people on the other stone platforms. There were a total of 8 stone platforms in his corner, and they were all sizing each other up. Fortunately, for the time being, no one has broken through 5 times. Lu Ming pondered. There were 8 stone platforms in each of the 8 corners of the 8 trigrams platform. On Lu Ming's side, there was no one who had broken through 5 times. What a coincidence! There are 8 5-fold extreme breakers in 8 different corners. We won't run into them in the early stages. Someone whispered. It's not necessarily a coincidence. In my opinion, it's those who intentionally avoided each other. At the beginning, there were 6 people who displayed the battle prowess of 5 extreme breakers. They would definitely avoid each other. The 2 people who displayed the battle prowess of 5 extreme breakers also deliberately avoided the other 6. You're right. Everyone was discussing. He deliberately avoided it to avoid encountering it too early. After all, both of them had broken through 5 times and were top-notch geniuses. Neither of them had the confidence to win against the other. On Lu Ming's side, the other 7 people were sizing up Lu Ming, showing a strong sense of fear. They were all hoping that they would not encounter Lu Ming too early. Once they encountered Lu Ming, they would definitely lose. The number of times one had broken through was completely determined by their battle prowess, not by their realm. Therefore, there was no such thing as a cross-level battle. If a 5-fold extreme breakers encountered a 5-fold extreme breakers, they would definitely lose. There was basically no suspense. The 8 stone platforms slowly rotated. Suddenly, 2 of the stone platforms flew into the sky. The 2 people on the stone platforms were overjoyed. Because their opponents were not Lu Ming. When the 2 stone platforms flew to a certain height, they suddenly collided and quickly merged, finally turning into a larger octagonal stone platform. The 2 geniuses stood on both sides of the stone platform. The merged stone platform was considered a new stone platform. As long as they defeated their opponents, they could activate the energy of the stone platform to refine their bodies again. The rules of the other 7 areas were the same. 2 stone platforms collided with each other. Kid, surrender. Otherwise, I'll make sure you die miserably. On Lu Ming's side, one of the geniuses spoke. This person was surging with Yin energy. He was a genius from the underworld. And opposite this person was a genius from the Yang realm. Haha, that's exactly what I wanted to say to you. The genius from the Yang realm replied with a sneer. There was nothing to say. The 2 of them came from different camps and directly fought each other. Both of them had very strong battle prowess. It could be said that they were top-notch geniuses in their respective universes. Their battle prowess had reached the limit of 4 times extreme breakers. Therefore, the battle between the 2 was destined to be incomparably tragic. After exchanging more than 1,000 moves, in the end, the genius from the Yang realm won and defeated his opponent with a slight advantage. After winning, he activated the energy of the stone platform to envelop his body. His injuries quickly recovered. Then, of the remaining 6 stone platforms, 2 more of them flew up. No one knew if it was a coincidence or if the stone platforms had a reaction, but one of the geniuses on the 2 stone platforms was from the underworld and the other from the Yang realm. Both of them were delighted, but the remaining geniuses had ugly expressions. That was because among the remaining geniuses, the chances of encountering Lu Ming were higher. Their expressions were ugly. There was almost no suspense if they encountered Lu Ming. They were destined to lose. If they encountered other geniuses, they could still give it a try. The outcome was unpredictable. Soon, the two stone platforms flew to a certain height and merged into one stone platform. The two geniuses on it fought each other. The combat prowess of the two sides was almost the same. It was still a bloody battle. In the end, after exchanging more than 1,000 moves, the genius from the underworld won by a slight advantage. After winning, he naturally quickly activated the energy to recover his body. Then 2 more stone platforms flew up. "It's finally my turn," Lu Ming whispered. This time, it was his turn. His opponent was a Heaven's Pride from the Yin world. When the Heaven's Pride from the Yin world saw that his opponent was Lu Ming, his expression turned extremely ugly. His originally gloomy face was so gloomy that it was about to drip water. Soon, the 2 stone platforms merged together. Boom! When the stone platforms merged together, Lu Ming made his move. His figure was like a tyrannosaurus as he rushed towards his opponent. His opponent was shocked and hurriedly retreated. In the process of retreating, he resisted with all his strength. The two of them collided, and the genius from the underworld retreated from the stone platform like a bolt of lightning. He took the initiative to admit defeat. He could clearly recognize the situation. He was no match for Lu Ming at all. If they really fought, not only would he lose, but he might also lose his life. It was better to admit defeat. Chapter 5101. Just like that, Lu Ming easily won. He stimulated his qi, blood, and origin power to activate the energy of the stone platform. Suddenly, Lu Ming was enveloped by an extremely rich energy. This energy was twice as rich as the previous stone platform. It kept rushing into his limbs and bones, tempering his body, soul, and origin power, and polishing his foundation. After Lu Ming won, the last 2 stone platforms in this area also flew up and started a battle. By the time the outcome of the battle had been decided, the outcome of the battles in the other regions had also been decided. There were 8 people who had broken through 5 times. Naturally, there was no suspense and they easily won. Through this observation, everyone was almost certain that there were no more people who had broken through 5 times. There were only 8 of them. This was because the battles of the others were extremely tragic. If there were really people who had broken through 5 times, there was no need to hide it at this time because there was no need. After a round of battles, the 64 people became 32 people. All of them were bathed in the rich and pure energy and obtained opportunities. This was also the reason why hundreds of thousands of geniuses were attracted here. Because the opportunities of the sky trampling platform were not limited to one person. Many people could obtain opportunities. As long as they snatched a stone platform, they would be able to obtain one opportunity. Therefore, some ordinary geniuses, such as those who had broken through once or twice, wanted to try their luck. However, they did not expect the number of geniuses to come here was beyond imagination. Below the sky trampling platform, countless people looked envious and jealous. This was especially true for those who had broken through 4 times. With this kind of good fortune, they could take the risk of breaking through under the great tribulation of the origin. Once they succeeded, the benefits were endless. There was hope for them to become kings in the future. Those who have broken through 5 times, after obtaining this opportunity, if they can break through under the great calamity of origin, I wonder how powerful they will be in the future. It's really hard to imagine. Someone sighed softly. As long as such people don't die, needless to say, they will become kings. It's not impossible for them to become human kings. An old man whispered. Human kings. Many people were shocked. At the end of the universe, the 3 kings of the human race were too famous. They were definitely kings of kings, standing at the top of the universe ocean. In the entire universe ocean, they could be called overlords. He actually had such potential? That was truly incredible. If such a figure appeared in a weak universe, he could lead the universe to rise rapidly. His ranking would also rise rapidly, and he would obtain more resources. The geniuses who had broken through 5 times were all looking forward to it. Even if their great universe was extremely powerful, a human king-level figure could still make their universe's strength soar. The most excited ones were those in the Azure Divine Realm. They were looking forward to it. A human king. They really hoped that Lu Ming could succeed and that the human race would give birth to a new human king. In the incomparably distant past, the human race had risen rapidly because of the birth of human monarch Xingxi. If another human king appeared in the human race, with the Azure Divine Realm as the foundation, they might be able to quickly rise up and recover to their peak. On the other hand, some of them were looking at Lu Ming with murderous intent. These were of course. Outside the Azure Divine Realm, Lu Ming had killed more than 100 origins of the 8 clans. On average, each clan had lost more than a dozen origins. This was a huge loss. They hated Lu Ming to the core and would never allow Lu Ming to rise. However, the living beings on the sky trampling platform were protected by the platform's array formation. With their strength, they couldn't do anything. If they did, they would be killed by the sky trampling platform's array formation before they could hit Lu Ming. Let's make the arrangements first. When Lu Ming leaves the sky trampling platform, it will be his death. But the 8 clans of the Forbidden Land gathered together to discuss. After a while, the geniuses on the 32 stone platforms had completed their refinement. All of them had joyous expressions on their faces. They had all reaped great rewards. Then, the next round of competition began. On Lu Ming's side, 2 of the 4 stone platforms flew up at the same time. One of them was Lu Ming. The young man opposite Lu Ming pulled a long face. He cursed in his heart that he was unlucky to have met Lu Ming. He knew that he would definitely lose to Lu Ming. His journey to the sky trampling platform had come to an end. Originally, he had hoped to win another round and obtain another chance to temper himself. Now that he had 2 chances to refine, if he got a 3rd chance, he was confident that he could break through to the origins. Unfortunately, Lu Ming wouldn't give him the chance. Boom! The 2 stone platforms gathered together and turned into a larger stone platform. There was nothing to hesitate about. The genius on the opposite side retreated quickly and directly left the stone platform. Lu Ming had won before he even made a move. No one was surprised by this. There was no comparison between a 4-time extreme break and a 5-time extreme break. This was a division of ranks based on combat strength, not realm. Then, the remaining 2 stone platforms also flew up and merged into a larger stone platform. On it, the 2 geniuses fought fiercely. There were no weaklings who could reach this step. They had all defeated other geniuses of the same level to advance. They had almost reached the limit of a 4-time extreme break. Therefore, the battle was extremely tragic. The 2 of them fought with no regard for their own safety, wanting to carve out a broad path for themselves. The 3rd tempering was very important. Perhaps with this tempering, they would be able to break through under the source tribulation. The 2 of them were bathed in blood. Their bodies were mutilated, but they were still fighting. In the end, one of them was beheaded and his body was torn apart. He almost died and barely dragged his broken body away from the stone platform. Although the other one won, he wasn't much better. His body was in tatters, his internal organs were completely shattered, and his bones were broken. If it weren't for the tenacious vitality of this level, he would have died. However, the price was completely worth it. When he activated the energy on the stone platform, his injuries were quickly recovering. The situation in the other areas was similar to Lu Ming's. The 5-time extreme break had won without fighting. The others had to fight fiercely to end their battles. After a while, everyone had finished tempering. It's twice as pure and powerful as the 2nd tempering, Lu Ming thought. It seemed that the energy contained in the later stone platforms was twice as powerful as that of the previous stone platforms. After 3 rounds of tempering, Lu Ming felt that his body and soul had become much stronger. In his body, his qi and blood were surging like the water of a river. His soul was shining brightly and emitting a special luster. In fact, his taboo origin power had also become much more condensed than before. It had become more solid and invincible. His battle prowess had more or less improved by a little. Chapter 5102. Although the battle prowess of an origin realm expert mostly relied on their origin power, genesis techniques, and origin grade divine weapons, their physical body and soul had very little influence. The physical body and soul were only the foundation and did not have much influence on battle prowess. However, if one's origin power became more condensed, it would still have some influence on battle prowess. At the very least, when Lu Ming used his Genesis techniques, he could make them stronger and last longer. If I can reach the end and step onto the highest heaven-trampling platform, I will have 4 more chances to temper myself. At that time, my foundation will be incomparably stable, and I will have absolute confidence in breaking through to the origin realm under the origin tribulation. Therefore, I must reach the end, Lu Ming muttered with a determined gaze. He could not lose. Buzz. The stone platform shook and began to float up again. This time, there was no suspense. The opponent directly admitted defeat when he saw Lu Ming and left the stone platform. Lu Ming easily won. He was the only one left in this corner of the octagonal stone platform. The situation was similar in the other 7 corners. The quintuple G breakers won without a fight. No existence who had broken through 4 times wanted to challenge the authority of someone who had broken through 5 times. This was because without the help of powerful foreign objects, it was impossible to win by relying on one's own combat strength. This point had been proven by many people throughout history. There was 1 person left in each corner. The 8 people stood in 8 different directions, sizing each other up. Their gazes collided, causing sparks to fly. Very good. It's been a long time since I fought with quintuple G breakers from other universes. This time, the final victory will belong to me, Sheng Wushuang said with great confidence. Of the top 10 universes in the Yang realm, no heaven prides had come here. The sacred light great cosmos was considered the highest-ranked universe in the Yang realm. Ha, ridiculous! The golden skeleton from the skeleton great cosmos sneered, full of contempt. If we meet, I will definitely suppress you. Sheng Wushuang looked coldly at the golden skeleton. Does your sacred light great cosmos only know how to boast? I hope you don't bite your tongue. The golden skeleton sneered in response. The others did not bat an eyelid and began to channel the energy of the stone platform to refine it. After the 4th refinement, the energy in the stone platform was indeed twice as powerful and pure as before. It crazily rushed into Lu Ming's pores and refined his body and soul. Lu Ming discovered that this kind of energy was mainly used to temper the body and soul. It was secondary to the improvement of one's origin energy, as if it was incidental. Lu Ming could clearly feel that there was a trace of black substance being tempered out of his body. It turned into black smoke and dissipated. Lu Ming sighed. At his level of cultivation, although he had deliberately tempered his fleshly body was still very astonishing. Every time he made a breakthrough, his fleshly body would be tempered. Currently, Lu Ming could explode an early-stage God Emperor with just his fleshy body. He had thought that his physical body was already strong and pure enough. He had not expected that he could still refine impurities. It was not just his fleshly body. Black smoke also flew out from his soul and was also being refined. His fleshly body and soul became purer and more impurities, constantly improving and condensing. When the refinement was completed, Lu Ming discovered that his fleshly body and soul had improved by another level. Now, he felt that without using any other power, he could fight a late-stage God Emperor with just his fleshly body. With a punch, the void would explode. However, the further he went, the slower his improvement became. Boom, boom, boom. After the refinement was completed, the 8 peerless geniuses in the 8 corners released a powerful aura at the same time, raising their state to the extreme, ready to fight at any time. There were at least 1 million people watching the battle in the surroundings. Everyone held their breaths and stared at the heaven-trampling platform without blinking. A battle between 5th-stage God Emperors was not common. It was extremely rare even in the Cosmic Sea. In the Cosmic Sea, Divine Lord Realm geniuses were not too strong. They were all protected and would not easily go out of the universe to gain experience. Generally, they would cultivate in their own universes. How many 5th-stage God Emperors could there be in a universe? Even in the top 10 great universes, there were not many 5th-stage God Emperors in the same era, so there were very few collisions. As for the universes below the top 10, They would be thankful to have one fifth-stage God Emperor in an era. How could they see a battle between 8 fifth-stage God Emperors at the same time? Buzz. Suddenly, 2 stone platforms vibrated slightly and flew up. Then, the 2 stone platforms gradually leaned against each other. It's Divine Wuxia and Tan Yi from the Hellfire Great Universe. Many people exclaimed. One of the geniuses on the 2 stone platforms was Divine Wuxia, and the other was a peerless genius from the Hellfire Great Universe of the Yin World. Although the Hellfire Great Universe was not in the top 10 of the Yin World, it was still ranked 18th. It was also an extremely powerful great universe. As for Tan Yi, he was the number 1 genius of the Hellfire Great Universe of this generation. Very good. Today, I will be the first one to make my name known. You Yin spirits of the Yin world. Divine Wuxia's eyes exploded with resplendent light. Of course, the Yin spirits he spoke of was just a deliberately derogatory term. The beings of the Yin world were not Yin spirits. They were no different from the beings of the Yang world. It was just that the environment they lived in was different. They were born with the extreme Yin attribute, so the techniques they cultivated and the energy they grasped leaned toward Yin. However, many people of the Yang world deliberately called them Yin spirits in order to belittle the beings of the Yin world. It was an insult. Sure enough, Tanya's eyes flashed with cold killing intent. Rumble. The 2 stone platforms collided and fused into an even larger stone platform. Bush. The moment the 2 stone platforms fused, Divine Wuxia and Tan Yi turned into 2 streaks of light and charged at each other. Boom. The 2 collided for the first time, erupting with a shocking explosion. There was no doubt that the 2 of them stood at the peak of the Divine Lord realm. 5th stage God Emperors were not just for show. Ordinary origins were nothing in front of them. The 2 used their full strength right from the start, pushing their battle power to the peak and launching a battle of the apex. 5th stage God Emperors undoubtedly comprehended Genesis techniques. Without comprehending Genesis techniques, it was impossible to reach the 5th stage God Emperors. The battle between Genesis techniques, the collision of origin power against origin power, was incomparably intense. Soon, the 2 had exchanged over 100 moves. At this time, one could see that Divine Wuxia was slowly gaining the upper hand. The demonic Emperor rune appeared in Lu Ming's pupils as he seriously observed the battle. This was the first time he had seen a battle between 5 people who had broken through the extreme boundary. This had greatly affected him and helped him a lot. One had to admit that there were no weaklings among those who had broken through the 5th stage God Emperors. 5th stage God Emperors was almost the limit of the Divine Lord realm. Although there were legends in the Cosmic Sea and almighty experts deduced that there should be 6th-stage God Emperors, no one had ever seen 6th-stage God Emperors since ancient times. 6th-stage God Emperors was just an inference. Chapter 5103. In the Cosmic Sea, breaking through 5 times was the true pinnacle. Those who could reach this step were all exceptional and rare monsters. None of them were weak, and the difference between them was not great. Lu Ming pondered. Even if he went up, he did not have full confidence. Although Divine Wuxia had the upper hand, it would not be that easy to defeat Tan Yi. Sure enough, Tan Yi roared and his aura surged. He resisted with all his strength and exchanged hundreds of blows with Divine Wuxia. The result was tragic. Both of them were injured. Half of Divine Wuxia's body was smashed, and he looked ferocious. Tan Yi was in an even worse state. His lower body was destroyed, and his glabella was pierced. He rushed out of the battle platform with difficulty. This battle ended with Divine Wuxia's victory. However, it was a Pyrrhic victory. It was not an overwhelming victory. After Divine Wuxia defeated Tan Yi, he immediately sat down cross-legged and circulated his energy to heal his injuries. He did not activate the energy of the stone platform immediately because he still had to watch the other battles to know himself and his enemy. Buzz. At this moment, 2 more stone platforms flew up and merged together. The 2 peerless monsters on the platform fought fiercely. This battle was even more intense than the previous one, as the 2 monstrous geniuses were not too far apart in terms of combat strength. The 2 of them continued to fight, trying to find a fleeting opportunity to end the battle once and for all. In this battle, both sides exchanged thousands of blows. Finally, one of them won with a slight advantage. However, the result was that both of them were seriously injured and on the verge of death. However, at their level, as long as they were not immediately killed, they had a way to recover. Soon after, 2 more stone platforms flew up. This time, one of them was the golden skeleton of the great skeleton cosmos. The other person, according to the others' discussion, was a peerless monster from the great cosmos, which was ranked 10th in the Yang realm. The peerless monster of the great cosmos was called Jianghu. There was nothing to say. The 2 of them fought fiercely. However, the result shocked everyone. That was because the result of this battle was actually one-sided. The golden skeleton had completely crushed Jianghu. It was not that Jianghu was not strong. Jianghu combat strength was definitely not weaker than Tan Yi and the others. However, he was still crushed. The main reason was that the golden skeleton's body was too strong. It had boundless strength and was impervious to swords and spears. During the battle, it completely ignored its own defense and attacked with all its might. Jianghu attack landed on the golden skeleton's golden bones, but it didn't leave a single mark. What a terrifying defensive power! It's completely indestructible. Even if a top-tier soul-grade weapon were to cut it, it wouldn't leave a mark. Such a physique is truly invincible. This time, I reckon that the atavistic immortal bone will finally step onto the highest heaven-trampling platform. Many people were discussing. Lu Ming's expression was solemn as well. He compared himself, but discovered that if he faced the golden skeleton he wouldn't be able to do anything either. The result would only be defeat. He was no match for the golden skeletons. It wasn't that he was weak, but rather that the atavistic immortal bone was too powerful. All things that carried the word immortal were incomparably terrifying, unable to be measured through normal reasoning. Legend had it that the atavistic immortal bones were formed from the bones of immortal Dao powerhouses. In other words, the golden skeleton's body was very likely the skeleton of an immortal. How terrifying was the skeleton of an immortal Dao expert? Who would be able to do that? However, there were also people who raised a different opinion. Immortal Dao powerhouses have eternal bodies. How could they only have a skeleton left? I think the Great Bone Cosmos is exaggerating to raise their own status and intimidate others. That's right. In my Great Cosmos, an expert once deduced and came to a conclusion. The so-called atavistic immortal bone is very likely formed by melting the flesh and blood of an immortal Dao powerhouse. What? There's actually such a thing? Everyone discussed, and some people exclaimed. Even if it wasn't the skeleton of an immortal Dao powerhouse, but just the flesh and blood of an immortal Dao powerhouse, it was still incredible and absolutely terrifying. How could the flesh and blood of an immortal Dao powerhouse be so easy to melt? Ordinary people wouldn't be able to withstand it at all. To be able to melt it meant that one's talent was absolutely terrifying. The weakness of the atavistic immortal bone is the soul. Attack his soul. Someone reminded. In fact, Jianghu also knew the weakness of the atavistic immortal bone. However, he wasn't good at soul attacks. Although he knew a little, it wasn't very strong and couldn't cause much damage to the atavistic immortal bone. In reality, existences below origin all had some soul strength. Even if they grasped some soul attack methods, the power wouldn't be particularly strong. For example, the Baleful Yin race knew many soul attack methods. They were naturally good at soul attacks, but the power wasn't particularly strong. Origin realm existences were slightly better off. The truly terrifying soul attacks were after the origin realm and entering the immortal tribulation realm. After the baptism of the tribulation, the strength of the soul would skyrocket. When using soul attacks, the power would be extremely shocking and could instantly destroy the soul of others. Of course, nothing was absolute in the world. Some people were born with powerful souls, but under the origin tribulation, they could refine powerful soul attacks. There were also some people who obtained some special opportunities and could also refine powerful soul attacks. Of course, such existences were very rare. In general, the golden skeleton completely suppressed Jianghu. Although Jiang Yufeng was extremely unwilling and used all his strength to display terrifying battle prowess, it was still useless. The golden skeleton directly used its body to take Jiang Yufeng's attack and attacked domineeringly. In just a few dozen moves, Jiang Yufeng was heavily injured and sent flying out of the arena. What terrifying strength! The golden skeleton's battle prowess is probably unmatched among those at the 5th stage of the extreme break. Indeed, if there's no way to restrain it, it's almost invincible among those at the 5th stage of the extreme break. Many older generation figures discussed. Divine Wushuang, I'm looking forward to meeting you. Let's see what you'll use to defeat me. The golden skeleton looked at Divine Wushuang with provocation in its eyes. Divine Wushuang snorted coldly and didn't answer. Next, the last 2 stone platforms flew up. One of them was naturally Lu Ming. Lu Ming's opponent was a blue-skinned youth. Around his body was a black belt of water, like a river, filled with cold yin qi. Through the discussion of the people around, Lu Ming already knew that this youth came from the 10th great cosmos of the Yin world. He was a peerless genius of the Nether River Great Cosmos. His name was Lan Yuchen. Human race. Very good. It's a pity that I wasn't born when the Eldritch universe was destroyed. Now, I'll see what the legendary human race is capable of. Lan Yuchen had a pair of pitch-black eyes that were like 2 black holes. When he looked at Lu Ming, his eyes were filled with killing intent. Fortunately, you were born late. Otherwise, you'd probably cry when you meet the human race of the Eldritch universe. Lu Ming smiled contemptuously.